Yo, what up, gang? Ben Wilson dropping in. Um, so it's come to my awareness. I've had a couple people now. I've had a couple people now recently, which means that there's probably a lot of people that feel the same way, because I actually have felt the same way before as well, that struggle with sitting down and studying the Bible, or sitting down in prayer, reading the word, meditating on God and focusing on Jesus. Like, have a problem like sitting down, being like still in that way, which is like it's super important to do that. I've had so many like powerful, so many incredible powerful conversations with God, and like true deep encounters with God, like in that secret place. Like, having people have problems just sitting down and being in that secret place. And so I got two things for y'all. Number one is like just making it active. Like, I've found in my own experience, like I was always that kid that was like in class, I would always have teachers taking my chair away. Like, I didn't want to just sit still, and like I had all this energy like inside of me. Like, we're in class and we're forced to sit in these chairs, and they're rock hard. They don't even have cushions on these things. And we're forced to just sit there and learn the stuff that we don't care about. So I personally, I get it. I struggled really heavily with that as well. But I learned. And now it's like really easy for me to actually like sit down and do that. So there's probably something. So number one, it's something that you can learn. And number two, I also came up with like some other solutions that, like, when I am feeling that way, this is what I do. So number one, let me start with that. So for example, like I felt that way today. And I know like one of the reasons for that is because there's a lot of emotion that is just built up in me that isn't necessarily aligned with God, like thoughts and beliefs and ideas in me that aren't necessarily aligned with God, that is pulling me away. It's literally like my flesh. I really think like that's what it is. If you experience that, by the way, but it's okay. And I have a solution. So what it is that I did is, I just put headphones on, and then I have an audio Bible. And by the way, I pay 50 bucks a year, which comes out to like less than $10, way less than like $5. What is that? $5 a month to have like this really awesome audio Bible. You can choose like different, I'm not sponsored, by the way, at all, but you can choose like different voices. And I just really like it. You even can have like meditative type of like wave sounds, the ocean in the background. It's pretty cool. But anyways, I just put that in my ears, and I was just really struggling to sit down and like battle my flesh and force myself. So I find more ease and grace with it. So one of the things that I love doing is playing soccer. It could be anything for you. You could just dance. You could put on worship music, or and just dance, like listen to good music, dance, and just talk to God and pray, and just pray in all the different ways that you are called to, and just ask Jesus to like speak to you in this moment through like what it is that you're doing. So I just went and played soccer, literally with socks on in my living room. I just like ran around the house just playing soccer, and I had the Bible in my ears, and I was just like listening to the word, and that like really helped me. That really helped me a lot, you know. And then like there's like some study material for like sales and just personal development that I was wanting to like listen to as well, and allow God to speak through. And I was just like too antsy. Like, I couldn't just sit down and study for some reason. So what I did is the same thing. I just had my journal open on the table, on the desk, and I just ran around the house, and I was just really focusing on like really listening and just being focused, and like allowing that to be like a meditative practice where I'm moving my body through space, and I'm just like allowing myself to move. I honestly think it helps you learn sometimes. But I was just doing that, and then I was just listening. So same thing, I did it with the Bible today, and then I did it with like these sales trainings, and then anytime I was like really focusing on listening, and anytime I heard something that's like, yo, that's good, I paused it, and then I put on some instrumental music, and then I wrote down what it is that I learned. Because I can sit down, anyone can sit down for a moment at a time. Any moment at a time, you can just sit down and write whatever it is that epiphany you had, you write it down, and now you just captured that. You just captured that idea. Because like in general, you could just listen to audios and you would learn all these different things, and like some of it might stick, but we forget, we're only going to remember like 5% really in a moment. So it's really important to write it down, because now you can go back and whatever ways that God used playing soccer for you, dancing, going on a walk, being in nature, going to the gym, whatever it is, and then you could just type notes into your phone, like whatever it is that you learn. And then what you're doing is you're actually like, you're literally studying. Like what is sitting down and studying, other than like really focusing and listening to what it is that you're wanting to learn from, and then writing down what you learn. That's what studying is. So boom, you're studying the Bible. You're listening to worship music, and then you're asking God to speak to you, and you're listening for God's voice, and then he speaks to you, and then you write down what he said. That's listening to God's voice. So I felt like that was a really effective thing for me, and I hope that helps. The other thing that I also have learned as well, because today I've kind of like felt like that a lot today. But what I really needed to do is go into prayer with my flesh. Just lay things down at the feet of Jesus. Different like emotional patterns and beliefs that weren't aligned with God, and habits and things that are like based out of the flesh, sinful. So I just laid all those things down. So, and I'm really like convinced that the reason why it's difficult for people to sit down and to study is because we have all this built up emotion inside of us that when you sit down and you study, all of that's just there, you know? And that's the whole point of meditating in the Word of God and meditating on Jesus, is because it's literally like a mirror where all the ways that the desires of the flesh have been pulling you and pulling at you, the enemy doesn't want you to sit down and be present with God. So the moment that you do, that's all going to come alive and active in that moment, and it's going to pull you away. So in that moment, it's so important to just pray and just become aware. Be in prayer and look at Jesus and allow him to illuminate to you. Maybe I'll share that verse right here. Something along the lines of, he who searches my heart, bring to the forefront of my mind any offensive way in me, so that I might not sin against you. It's really like that. That's what you're doing when you come into prayer with Jesus. And so that's your flesh trying to pull you away from meditation and spending time with Jesus. And so the second thing is that you can little bits at a time, just setting like a small habit, little bits at a time, whether you want to start with 15 minutes or an hour of meditation in the Word, sitting down and studying, or if you want to just start with a minute. But if you do it consistently, it's not about the number of days that you do it consecutively, just the number of times that you can sit down, even if it's just for a couple of seconds. If that's all you can do, obviously you want to go as long as you can, but count little tiny wins and just make it consistent. Because what tends to happen is people will try and they'll hear about people being in prayer for hours, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and then they just can't. So then they have this failure in their mind, and then they'll go days, even weeks, months, maybe, I hope not, where you just don't even try again, because trying to go in and meditate for a whole hour is just like out of the blue, is just, when you haven't been doing anything like that, it's darn near impossible. So, but every single time, you sitting down and focusing on Jesus, the part of you that's yearning for that wants to have that time, that's the desires of the spirit inside of you that war against the desires of the flesh. And so when you, every single time that you, even if it's just for a second, you're creating those, you're energizing those parts of you, those desires in you that will war against the desires of the flesh. So it's so powerful. It's such a powerful thing to really like but then I think this understanding is really key to like really understand what you're doing in that moment is processing and giving these emotions, whatever actions, whatever patterns, and you're giving them to Jesus. And you're like putting all your cares on him and then allowing him to speak to you, like coming out of agreement of all of it, asking for forgiveness, even offering out forgiveness into the world or to other people, like any places that this came from, asking for forgiveness for yourself for believing in these lies, repenting, renewing your mind, reading the word of God, like praying and allowing Jesus to change your heart, you know? That's just what it means. Like if you're not able to like really sit down, then like do what I shared at the very beginning. Because the more you do that, the more you're actually able to like find ways to actually still your mind. Because going and working out, going for a walk, playing a sport that you love, and doing art, it's such a beautiful thing to do. Like singing, worshiping, any of these creative ways, you know, things that you can do. Go for a drive, maybe even. Just do something, like move your body, can like still your mind and get you out of that, get you out of your mind, and then help you like really still your mind and focus on Jesus. And like the more you do that, then the more it's going to be easier for you to like to have just like brief moments where it can just start with a single second and just do that a couple times throughout the day, just like a couple seconds, and then that's going to turn into a minute, and then that's going to turn, just make it super easy, and then that continue to build, and eventually you'll be so clear and focused that you'll be able to just like for hours just sit down and all you're doing is just reading the Bible. But when you do like have those moments, like make your whole goal and just pray and ask Jesus to take to like help you be used as an instrument of righteousness rather than an instrument of the flesh, and like to help you take power over the desires of the flesh, because you are no longer a slave to sin because you are in Jesus. You are in the Spirit. The Spirit of God lives on the inside of you. And so you're no longer a slave to these things. We used to not be capable before Jesus, and it was impossible, but we are now. And so don't feed into those lies that you just can't. Like, that you just can't. You can. It's biblical. It's in the Bible. Jesus said so. So you can. But anyways, I hope that helps. Forgive me. I'm new. I'm making videos like this, so I hope that helped. And I'm getting better, so I'm gonna keep making them. Let me know what you thought. Please like, subscribe. I'm gonna keep making a lot of content, so let me know what you think. If there's anything that has stuck out to you, any questions that you have, let me know, and I would love to just jam with you guys on them. Maybe I'll make another video about it and you might inspire me, but it's cool.